In early European history, our people moved around their land. Now the Europeans come in and lay claim to the land, even though we were already there. So what happens? They are now in our land, and what they bring in? Cattle, horses, sheep, pigs, goats, donkeys, whatever it may be. So water holes became very valuable. Our people would still go to the water hole to drink and to catch the fish, and the women to pull out the lilies to get the little bulb to eat them and so forth. But what were we doing to the Europeans? We were disturbing the cattle and the sheep and the animals that were there. So we were a nuisance, because remember, we were not human at this time. We were just a pest virtually. And so what they needed to do then was to remove our people off the land. As it came a little bit further up in the late 1800s, they seen the value of our people for workers, men as labourers, women as domestics. So now they moved our people into groups, into missions and reserves. Now, Cherbourg Aboriginal community, around the Merg and Kingaroy area, it was first set up around 1902. It was named Woorabinda Mission because we were set up on Woorabinda Creek. We pronounce it Woorabinda, but Woorabinda Creek. Now the Europeans around that area like Merg and Kingaroy, Gameri, Wandai, they were now in the electorate of Woorabinda. Now, they didn't want to be seen as being associated with the Black Mission. We are the Black Aboriginal Mission Woorabinda, the electorate of Woorabinda. So they said they didn't want anything to do with that, so they wanted the name of the mission changed. So 1932, or thereabouts I think it was, one young lady came back from Europe. Her father was working at Cherbourg, at Woorabinda. And what happened, he said about the dilemma, they wanted to change the name. And she suggested that they should change it to Cherbourg after France, because to commemorate all the Australian soldiers that were killed there during the First World War. So hence we got a so-called more civilised name and alienated ourselves from the electorate of Woorabinda. We became Cherbourg Aboriginal Community, named in French. Now, Woorabinda was our punishment mission. Woorabinda is west of Rockhampton, in the Shire of Banana, in that area. Now, Woorabinda was also set up there as cheap labour, to remove the blacks off the land, cheap labour source. And Woorabinda in our language, Woorabinda, means where the kangaroo sits down and looks around, because it has a meaning in that name. Now, Woorabinda was set up as a punishment mission. And people say, well, how could it be a punishment mission? If you played up on Cherbourg, or Woorabinda as it was, and you were sent out to go to work, say a young man, he's got his wife, he's got 3 children, and now he is told by the superintendent he's going out to work on a cattle property. He may be out there for 6 months, he may be out there for 12 months. He doesn't want to leave his wife and his children, so he says, no, I don't want to go. Now, this is only one little example, there are many, believe me, even worse than that. But anyways, so what happens? He was given a chance, like, this is your choice, but this is what you have to do, otherwise you're going to be sent to Woorabinda. You know, so when you were sent to Woorabinda, you didn't get sent with your wife and children. You got sent away. Your wife and children stayed back in Cherbourg. And so when you went to Woorabinda, what do our people do? Very family orientated. We took off. We wanted to come back to Cherbourg. So if they kept running away and heading back to Cherbourg, and many made it, got all the way back down, they were picked up, and then they couldn't be controlled in Woorabinda or controlled on Cherbourg, wouldn't do as they were told. We were seen as being disruptive and so forth. And so we were sent now to Palm Island. Palm Island's off the coast of Townsville. It's in the group that they call the Friendly Islands, named by Lieutenant Cook when he sailed up the east coast in 1770. It's a beautiful big island, but what happened, we were sent there as a punishment island. It was our penal colony. So once you were sent to Palm Island, very rarely did you ever get off there. You couldn't swim back, it was too far. Sharks, crocodiles, and whatever it may be. So Palm Island became our severe punishment area. So those 3 missions today, Cherbourg, Woorabinda and Palm Island, we all have family and relatives, an extended family with those areas of the same name. And that's how we link up with our oral visual history of knowing who we are.